Hello fellow cinephiles, the Film Dude here, thanks for joining me today. Today I'll be looking at Spielberg's new film Disclosure Day. Now I don't usually talk about new films on this channel only because I get hit with copyright all the time, but this was too good of a film not to talk about on the channel and to have a discussion a little bit of what I thought about the film. In a lot of ways this is a return to form for Spielberg. Feels like his earlier movies in a lot of ways. Feels more like something like Close Encounters or E.T. and one of the actors in the film, Josh O'Connor, did talk about how he felt this was the third film in the unofficial trilogy that was Spielberg's Alien films with Close Encounters and E.T. and this. For a long time I thought Spielberg's best filmmaking was behind him, except for Ready Player One. I didn't really love a lot of the films that he'd been put out in the last few years. He just sort of did these dramatic films I didn't really care for, and it felt like we lost the essence of who Spielberg was as a person and a filmmaker. And some of the projects he felt like he didn't really care about the material as much as his previous work. But this felt like not only did he care, but he had a story to tell, a story that's been accumulating over many years and sort of is really telling a unique story. The sci-fi genre has definitely been something that he's thrived in. I didn't love War of the Worlds, but a lot of the sci-fi films he's done are really great. And I think he has a real knack for that sort of storytelling. And it's a film that you really need to experience, especially on the big screen. I don't really want to get into too much detail about it because I feel it's a film to really experience without knowing too much. What I will say is the story is interesting. It takes place in what feels like a world where aliens and UFOs and things have never been discussed or looked at, because they just, by the surprise of what unfolds and what people work out and experience, really shows that maybe these people haven't had the experience before. It sort of follows the story of a cyber security officer played by Josh O'Connor, who's ultimately on the run for this mysterious group that we learn who they are throughout the film. And you've also got Emily Blunt's character, a weather woman who sort of ultimately gets swept up into what's going on as well. And it's about their journey to get to the truth, to reveal the truth, and to sort of work out what's really going on. All the acting is really great. Josh O'Connor, who's having a really great run, working with some interesting directors, gives a great performance here. And he's an unassuming actor in a lot of ways, and I think he's great for a role like this. I think Emily Blunt's really good, and they, I don't know, kind of have really great chemistry together, and you really buy and believe who they are as characters. There's some really great visuals in it, some wonderful shots, some tracking shots. It really puts you in what's going on. Yeah, there are visual effects, but that's part of the world that we're being exposed to. I think also it sort of addresses the idea of we get so consumed by one particular thing that's going on in the world. What happens if something extraordinary happens? How will that affect humanity? How will that affect people and their interaction and how will it affect them on a personal level? There's much to like about the film. I love the fact we're sort of thrown into it when we meet Josh O'Connor in a particular setting, and we don't really know a lot about what's going on, but we learn as we go, and sort of he has a relationship with this girl as well, and she sort of learns as we learn. She's sort of us in a lot of ways. And Colin Firth is really good in it too. It's probably the best role he's had in a long time. He plays like the antagonist in a lot of ways. He's part of this mysterious group. And his motives and interest in what he's doing seems extreme, but his performance is really great. And Coleman Domingo sort of makes an appearance in a smaller role, but pivotal as well. I sort of can't explain how this film had effect on me, hit me on a personal level in a way I didn't expect. And it sort of swept me up in it, and I was just blown away by what I was experiencing and seeing on screen. And this is part of the reason why I feel Spielberg's back at doing what he does best. Because it was whimsical, it had humor in it, it was sentimental but not too sentimental, just the right amount that he does so well. It addressed the idea of what if aliens existed and what would that impact have on the world. And it's not only a physical journey, but it's sort of a mental journey we go on. And I think the ending is really great, just sort of how it sort of ends in a certain way, which is just like, well, what's going to happen next? And I like that. That's how it kind of would be if we experienced it ourselves. And it felt very grounded and real in a lot of ways. Yes, there's sort of the sci-fi elements that felt a bit futuristic and a bit separated from us, but they also didn't. They felt an evolutionary aspect to it, and that's kind of what the film feels like. the evolution of Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker, getting in touch with who he was early in his career, but also making something that sort of represents who he is now and the experiences he had. So he's been going on this particular journey, and then he takes us on our own journey through his experience and in what he injects of his personality and personal attributes into the film. And I like that he keeps a mysterious element to the whole film. We only learn little bits of information, and then when we get to the end, we really see what's transpired and going on and the impact that that's having. I have heard some people say that this is the worst film ever made and they hate it, but I just don't see that. Spielberg's always been a director that sort of speaks to the masses in a lot of ways. Maybe not with Duel and Sugarland Express, but definitely with Jaws and Close Encounters and Schindler's List and movies like that. He has a childlike wonder that he explores within the stories he tells and with what we see on screen. And then that gets in touch with your childlike wonder and wonder about the world and certain specific aspects. It's definitely one of the best films of the year. I got swept up in it. It's a return to form for Spielberg, and I just felt like I was watching a very talented, seasoned director make something that he was very passionate about. Whereas in previous films, it felt like he lost a lot of passion with certain films he was making. And this sort of feels like he's injected it back into it. And it just feels like Spielberg of old. And that's what I've been hoping and waiting and praying for. And that's exactly what we get with this film. It's a film that sits with you long after you've viewed it. And it makes you start to think about things. And it made me start to look at, the intrigue and interest that I had in UFOs and sightings and all that sort of stuff. So it really did its job in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that from now on we'll see this type of Spielberg we used to see with the more films he makes, but it just feels like something that is from the past, something that connects us to who he was and who he is now, and something that explores a unique subject matter in an interesting and sort of different way. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe down the bottom, follow me on Facebook and Letterboxd. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.